If you're a health of a life coach who wants to make more money in your coaching business, then you need to be thinking about how you can re-sign your existing clients. In today's episode of the Wholehearted Business Show, we're going to explore how you can re-sign and re-engage existing clients in a way that feels really good so that you can make more money in your coaching business. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help heart-centered and highly sensitive health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses and live their lives while they do it. And today on the show, we're talking all about how can you retain, re-sign existing clients so that you can actually show up your cash flow and make more money in your coaching business. Retaining existing clients is a bit of a no-brainer when it comes to actually having a sustainable coaching business, but it's genuinely something that not a lot of coaches consider or think about. And I think especially when you are a heart-centered, highly sensitive coach, we feel like we should be getting people, obviously, want to be getting people the results that they get in the existing container that they sign up for. However, there is, in the right situations and when it feels good, there are situations where it can make really good sense for people to re-sign and stay with you longer and work with you over a longer period of time. And we're going to look at that and how to create a strategy around it as well. And if you are a health or a life coach who is interested in making more money in their coaching business, please do check out my free business planning and business model training, because this will completely transform how you see the way that your coaching business is structured, including how resigning and retaining clients can fit into that strategy. It's completely free and it will help you look at how you can change the way that your coaching business is structured to make more money and generate more income. The link is in the description. So on to retention and re-signing existing clients. This is a really underrated strategy when it comes to showing up your cash flow, generating more income, and actually just making your business more sustainable overall. Because at the end of the day, the people who are most likely to purchase from you and work with you are the people who have already done so. They've already had a taste of what it's like to get results with you. They already are in your energy. It actually makes a lot of sense to think about that, and it's quite an underrated thing. And again, I think as health and life coaches, and this is certainly where I've been in the past, is because obviously we do get results for people in the containers that they're in. We want to do that for them. And I think for me, there was always this kind of sense is that, well, they shouldn't need to re-sign with me or work with me any longer because they should have gotten the results in the time that they've been with me for. However, that is not what resigning and retaining clients is about. And I'm going to explain how we need to think about it in a different way so that this strategy can actually make sense. And to be able to have a successful retention and re-signing strategy, we need to really look at the mindset around it. Again, it is not being pushy to suggest to people about sign on. We're going to talk about how we do that in a second. It is not meaning that you haven't getting people results in the existing container. It's not a negative thing. People are not going to feel pressured in the way that I'm going to describe how we do it. You don't need to worry about those things. So looking at the mindset and really thinking about what comes up for me when I think about reaching out to my clients when they come to the end of their programs and discussing re-signing and whether or not they want to work with me for longer. I think anything that comes up there is really interesting around, and again, a lot of this is this icky sales things that come up. And again, because we are highly sensitive and heart-centered, we are more likely to feel that. So just be aware of how those things come up. But again, it's not pushy to do that. It's absolutely in service of your client as well as yourself. So you really need to flip it and think you would be doing a disservice to your existing clients not to offer them that potential option. It doesn't mean that they're going to take it, but it would be a disservice not to do that. So really thinking about this can be very helpful. One of the things that you really need to think about is what is a pathway for people after they finish working with you. What does that look like? Because again, what we don't want to be doing is, well, you haven't reached your result in this time frame, therefore do you want to work with us longer? That's not a very aligned way to do it. So I think really looking at what it is that you do, what the transformation is. And I talk about this in my everything that I talk about with one-to-one coaching, my one-to-one coaching fix, my program that helps you create a really great coaching package and a really great coaching experience. In that program, we talk about the fact that a coaching package needs to be a transformation. It needs to offer people a shift, an experience, a transformation from one state that is not desired to a desired state or changing something in their lives. There's a transformation. And just because you've achieved that transformation, or sometimes that transformation isn't complete, doesn't mean that you can't help them with another transformation or what comes after. And I think this is the thing. It's about thinking about what does that next step look like for people in your business, and how can you create a next level and next step and next part of the pathway for people that is still within your scope of practice. And again, that's very specific to you. If you need advice on this, I do offer one-to-one work, so do reach out and check out what that looks like, because this can be a very valuable strategy if you're not actually implementing this yet. So really thinking about what would the next step be for people in your particular niche. Now that can be just the fact that they have a container with you there to support them. That can actually be enough. It doesn't have to be another coaching package that is built on another transformation. It can be. Again, depending on your niche, there might be a next thing that comes after the thing that you've worked with them on that is within your scope of practice, and that can be the next step. It can also be just be in a space where you have access to you as the coach, to your support, your ongoing guidance. That can be really valuable for people as well. It is very unique to you, but those are just a couple of ideas that you could sit with. And again, it's thinking about what is the next step. Is it just ongoing support? Because that is still really valuable for people. It just depends on your niche and the kind of nature of the transformation that you offer within your main coaching options. And then once you've got that understood and you know what that next step looks like for people and how to present that, it is thinking about how do you want to make this a really good thing for existing clients. I'm a big believer that if you've worked with me before, then I'm going to, sounds weird to say, reward you for being an existing client, but that I want to give you the best option of working with me further. So that can look like things like special offers, special discounts, unique offers just for these people who have worked with you before. And again, what I tend to offer in my business is if someone wants to stay on and work with me again over a longer period of time, I will do so at a more reduced rate. I'm more than happy to do that. And again, often in my business, when people come through one of our main coaching packages, the next step for them is like it is they really value having me on hand in their business on that ongoing kind of basis. And again, just to say, how you structure this going forward, it doesn't have to be the same level of support that you've offered in your main coaching package. Maybe it's 1 session a month instead of 2. Maybe it's voice note support only. Maybe it's just email and support. It doesn't have to be the same level. And really thinking creatively about that can be really good. So think about how you want to do that. And again, do you want to have a special alumni kind of discount? Do you want to have a very unique package just for people to come into once they graduated through the main coaching package, for example? Think about what that can look like and think about how you can reward people who have worked with you before and give them a really good deal, because they are so much more likely to want to work with you again through that process. And that's okay. There's also ways that you can start to make people think about what comes next while they are still in the coaching journey that they are already signed up for. And that can look like just working with them through thinking about, well, what happens next? Where do you want to go after this? And again, depending on where you're at with someone, and this is very niche specific as well, you can talk to them about that next stage and what the next goal might be, or what the next thing that they want to work on might be, and how they are going to support themselves through that, because that can really help people say, well, actually, I would struggle to support myself through that next step, and I'd really value the support of a coach through that. So it can be really useful to help people with that. And the way that I like to do this as a highly sensitive, heart-centered person who is not here to bullshit people into trying to sign up for something that they don't need or want, is this is actually about empowering your client to be able to look at what comes next, whether that's with you or without you. Because I don't want anyone ending a coaching program with me and then not knowing what their next steps are, whether that's with me or without me. And I think you can start to have that conversation, like depending again on how long your coaching package is. It doesn't have to be right at the end. And I'm going to talk a bit about that in a second, like how you do that towards the end of a coaching package. But I see it as a way of, this is not a conversation necessarily about working with me further. This is a conversation about what happens when you no longer have that support there. Do you still want that support, or how can I support you to figure out what that's going to look like next? Both options are valid. And I think approaching it from that space of, I'm having this conversation now because I don't want you to just be dropped and then not feel like you've got a plan. And again, that plan might involve you as the coach still being there. It might not. And either way is okay. But I think when you think of it that way, it's really helpful to have those conversations a little bit earlier than you might think. Part of this is making sure that you have a really solid offboarding process. So as well as onboarding clients, make sure that you have a really good offboarding experience as well. And that can look like obviously having some kind of like testimonial request, some kind of feedback request, having some kind of debrief with your clients at the end of that. But it doesn't have to start right at the end. And this is, I think, a really important thing. And I'm still making sure that I catch up on this. But talking to people like a couple of sessions before they're due to end about where they are at in terms of what comes next. And again, I've just talked about what this looks like, but making sure as well that they I think this is just a really good thing to do, because if they haven't quite gotten to where they want to get to, it's really good to identify what the barriers to that have been at that point. And then it means for you as the coach, if there's anything that you need to address or support them with differently, you've got the opportunity to do that before the finish. But also it just starts that process. And again, as I've said before, of helping them understand what comes next. So start on your offboarding process a little bit sooner than you might think. And again, for me, a really good offboarding process is about making sure that you getting from them what they've enjoyed about working with you, and having that really positive experience in terms of giving a testimonial or feedback, because often that is the thing when they look back and think, well, actually this has been amazing, this experience, I've gained all these things from it, then naturally they're going to think about, well, what happens if I continue to do this? So having that process, and again, this is not something that I've done with my clients, but actually sitting with the client and doing that testimonial with them there. You know, maybe you extend the length of the last session so that you've got time to do that, or the second last session. And again, I would also potentially not leave the testimonial until the very, very last session either. I would usually send that the second last session and then follow it up in the last one. So if you're just going to do a form. So again, thinking about how you end that relationship with people and giving them the information about how they can work with you before the final session, because you want to be having that conversation with them then. So it might be that after the second last session, you can send them over a bit of information that says, hey, we're approaching the end of our work together. Here's something about asking for a testimonial to see where we're at. Here's also some information about how we can continue to work together if that's something that you're interested in doing, and have that information there for them to think about before you actually speak to them in the final session. And that can be a really great offboarding process to have. But again, think creatively about it. This is where you can, in terms of I'm getting a little bit further into things, but your onboarding and your offboarding, these are, again, situations and parts of your coaching experience that you can work on so that you can give people a really unique and amazing experience in working with you as a coach. So thinking about how you do that quite creatively can be a really great thing to have in that package anyway. So ultimately, when we are having that re-sign conversation, generally is in the last session, but you will have given them information before they get there so they can consider it. And again, it's a conversation, sales conversation, like any other sales conversation. And some people are not going to be ready for it. Some people are going to be on the fence, and some people are going to be, yes, this makes total sense. And I think knowing where people are at out of those options is really good. Like some people will just be like, well, I'm done, or I need a break from coaching, or I can't invest again, and that's absolutely fine. Some people will be like, there, but they need a little bit of supporting through that decision. And some people will be like, yeah, this makes total sense for me, I've had a great experience, and so on. And sometimes as well, just to say, like, you will work with a client and you will know that it's not the right thing to work with them again. So it's okay not to offer them the option to re-sign if they're not the right fit. But you will also have clients where you are like, I love working with this person. We've got a great working relationship in this context. It would make total sense for us to continue to work together. And I think giving your excitement in that way is so valuable if you really enjoyed working with them, because it would make a lot of sense, not just for you. And again, there's reasons why it can be very valuable for people to continue to work with you, not just in terms of what they're going to gain from the results that they're going to get, but you know them, you've worked with them, you know their story. Like, continuing to work with you is going to save them time and money by potentially working with someone else who doesn't know where they're at and who doesn't have that background of them and their situation. So there's a lot of value for people to continue to work with you as well. So there we have it. Just to recap, having a retention and re-signing strategy in your coaching business is really important if you want to have a more sustainable cash flow. The people who have already paid to work with you are often the people who are most likely to want to work with you again. Really good thing to remember. It doesn't have to feel icky or awkward to have those conversations. And again, there's lots of benefits to them to want to stay on and work with you. Think about what the natural next step from your existing packages or offers are so that you can really get that explained clearly and give people a reward for staying with you. Make it good for them, make it work for them. It's really good for you to have that. And again, it can be a rolling monthly thing, it can be another package, it can be less support, it can be a lower cost. Like, there's all sorts of things that you can do. Think creatively about what that is. Start your onboarding process earlier than you might have done before. Give people time and make sure that you're approaching it from, not from a point of view of, I really want this client to re-sign, from a, I want to support this client to feel supported in whatever way they need to as they end this existing coaching package. That's a really great way to look at it. Have those options laid out, have the conversation, and there you go. You will have people re-sign. You really will, when you follow those steps. Because again, if you're doing your coaching stuff properly, if you went with people in a great way, if it's the right fit, people will want to re-sign, especially if you're giving them a really good deal at the end of it. So there you have it, a strategy for re-signing and retaining existing clients. I really hope that you found this helpful. Again, if you are interested in making more money in your coaching business, signing more clients, having a really great business plan and a really great business model that makes sense is going to help that. I've got a free training and a free worksheet that covers all of that. The link is in the description. Go and grab it. And yeah, if you've been watching on YouTube, I really hope that you've enjoyed this. Please leave a comment below. Let me know if this has been helpful. Do you have an existing client retention strategy in place or not? Let me know in the comments. If you are listening on the podcast and you have any feedback, please pop me a DM on Instagram. I'm at WholeheartedlyLaura, and I will see you over there. Right, guys, I will be back next week with more episodes of the Wholehearted Business Show, and I will catch you then. Take care. Bye.